Hello everyone, welcome to a series on environment, and our story today is about the great Indian bustard and why it was in news. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has approved funds for the next phase of the Bustard Recovery Program. Again, for the next phase, that is 24 to 29 of Bustard Recovery Program. So this was basically started in the year 2013 and it was changed to Bustard Recovery Project. The name changed to Bustard Recovery Project in the year 2016, extended till 2033, and the coverage of the species under this project under this program, initially it was a program, then the project coverage include 4 species: Great Indian Bustard, the Lesser Florican, the Bengal Florican, and the McQueen's Bustard. So let me write it here: the Lesser Florican, then the Bengal Florican, then the McQueen's Bustard. Implemented by Wildlife Institute of India. Implemented. And the fund is managed by, or you can say the funding agency is Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management. Fund Management and Planning Authority. So, with regards to this compensatory afforestation fund, to understand this, imagine it's something like this. You see, if it is a forest and you are trying to convert it into a land for non-forest purposes. So, consider for instance, with regards to an important infrastructure project, you try to convert this particular forest land into for the purpose, you are converting into non-forest purpose, right? Because the forest is getting converted into land to be used for infrastructure. So, to compensate this lost forest, what you do is, if imagine this is a barren land or a wasteland, some other place, you try to recover this forest using afforestation. So the lost forest is recovered over here through afforestation practices. And the fund dedicated for this is the Compensatory Afforestation Fund actually. So there is a dedicated management and planning authority, and this is the funding agency for this Bustard Recovery Program also. This concept is the compensatory afforestation concept. You are compensating for the lost forest, and for that afforestation you need a dedicated fund, and that fund is the CAMPA fund actually. And with regards to the collaborating agencies, then we'll talk about the objectives. Okay, collaborative agencies include Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, then the Rajasthan, Gujarat and Maharashtra government forest departments. Okay, and with regards to the objectives of this program, the first objective includes selective breeding. Conservation breeding actually. Sorry. It is conservation breeding. And when you say conservation breeding of ex situ population, so conservation breeding of ex situ population in the sense you try to develop breeding centers in zoos, that is, you try to develop breeding centers in zoos, you try to develop breeding centers in sanctuaries, and once the population is increased certain extent you try to restore them in the wild. Then you do applied research. Applied research means you study about the reproductive biology of the birds, you study about the behavior of the birds, then you study about the reproductive species, you study about the behavior of the species, or you study about the you try to study about the conservation practices, innovative conservation practices. Then you capacity building and outreach. I think capacity building and outreach, what you do is you train the staff, you train the professionals with regards to, you try to enhance the knowledge with regards to conservation practices and species management. And then with regards to outreach, you try to raise awareness either through reach to a larger number of people through social media or educational campaigns. So, and then with regards to pilot implementation, of surgical habitat management. So, when you say pilot implementation, it means you try to experiment in a smaller area, and if you feel that it is working in the smaller areas, you try to implement it over a larger areas. In general, pilot implementation means that. So when we talk about the pilot implementation of surgical habitat management, you are basically targeting surgical instance, you're targeting the habitat management. So you're trying to do habitat restoration, vegetation restoration. You try to implement it in smaller areas, and you also try to remove the invasive species for the habitat restoration. Maybe like consider, for instance, if grasslands is a habitat area of the bustard species, and if they're being if they're under threat because of the invasive species, some foreign plants are growing over there, they have to be removed, right? So removal of invasive species is required, and for this removal they may try to use some innovative methods, because invasive species thrive and reproduce in large numbers to replace the endemic ones. So they might use some innovative methods. So for that, in order to use that innovative methods also, they have to research, right? So basically they'll try to experiment and research in the smaller areas, and once that is fruitful, they'll try to implement to larger areas. This is all about the objectives. Coming to the point of the lesser Florican, we'll talk about now. With regards to the lesser Florican is the smallest of all bustards, and the habitat include Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Then with regards to the threats, pesticides and mismanagement of agro grasslands. Mismanagement of agro grasslands, I'll discuss. With regards to the Great Indian Bustard, it is endemic to the Indian subcontinent, okay? Endemic to the Indian subcontinent. Again, this habitat of Great Indian Bustard also includes Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, along with it Karnataka. So, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Then you have, with regards to the threats, you have specifically organophosphate pesticide. Organophosphate pesticide is also leading to bioaccumulation in these species. And then they have predation as threat, and then entanglement with power lines. So organophosphate pesticide, what happens is bioaccumulation, in the sense the insects which feed on the pesticide, they're toxic, actually highly toxic, and insects feed on these plants for which the pesticides are used, and these birds, the great Indian bustards, also feed on these insects. And when this happens, that means bioaccumulation, in the sense accumulation of chemicals increases as you move upwards in the food chain. So the accumulation of chemicals is increasing here, moving in as we move higher in the food chain. And also with regards to agro-grasslands mismanagement, I'd like to just mention about the grasslands, agro-grasslands. So if a particular land is being used for agriculture, and if it is also being used for livestock grazing, so that particular land is called as agro-grassland. And if livestock mismanagement, in the sense if it is overgrazed, it leads to decline in tall dense grasslands. And when this happens, when the decline happens, the population, the insects which thrive on these grasslands also decline, right? They depend on these grasslands and other flowering plants in these grasslands. So when this decline, the food availability decreases, and when food availability decreases, obviously the population declines. And also these tall dense grasslands act as a safety net from their predators, and also their good breeding habitats, actually breeding habitats or areas. So in these taller grasslands, denser grasslands decline, the safety net is removed from their predators. And also with regards to agriculture mismanagement, in the sense pesticides usage also leads to decline in insects, over usage of pesticides, because they're actually in one part of the land only. So in this part the grazing happens, here the agriculture happens. So over usage of pesticides leads to insects decline. When this happens, again the food availability declines. This is how a threat to these birds, actually. And then also within agriculture, these birds basically breed during the monsoon season. So during monsoon season we do harvesting, plowing and all. And when we do harvesting, plowing and all, the breeding is disturbed, that is human intervention. Breeding is disturbed, actually. This is how it is posing a threat to these birds, actually. This is all about, I talk about collaborating agencies also. This is all about the Bustard. I'll talk about the conservation programs in the next class, actually. Okay, this is all about the Great Indian Bustard. Thank you. That's it for today. Stay tuned for more updates.